An artist decides to build a fenced enclosure in an unusual shape. The fence will be in the shape of the bounded region of the equations y equals 2x squared and y equals x squared plus 7. What is the area of the enclosed region? So to begin, we want to graph these two equations on the coordinate plane to determine the bounded region. So here's the graph of the two equations on the coordinate plane. Notice how the shaded region here would be the region we're trying to find the area of. Notice how the area is bounded above by y equals x squared plus 7 and bounded below by y equals 2x squared. It's important that we identify which function is on top and which is on bottom when determining the area between two functions. Because when trying to find the area between two functions, we want to find the integral of f of x minus g of x from a to b, where f of x is the top function and g of x is the bottom function, and where the limits of integration a and b would be the x-coordinates of the point of intersections, or where we start and stop integrating. So what's happening here is we're finding the area below the top function and then subtracting the area below the bottom function, leaving us with the area between the two functions. So going back to our example, to begin to set this up, the area is going to be equal to the integral of the top function, which is x squared plus 7, minus the bottom function, which is 2x squared. Now to find the limits of integration, we want to find the x-coordinates of these 2 points of intersection. To do this, we want to solve the system of equations y equals x squared plus 7 and y equals 2x squared. So to solve this system, we'll use substitution, where we'll substitute 2x squared for y in the first equation. That would give us 2x squared equals x squared plus 7. Subtracting x squared on both sides, that would give us x squared equals 7. Notice how we'll have two solutions here. We'll take the square root of both sides of the equation, and we have x equals plus or minus square root 7. So we could use a lower limit of integration of negative square root 7 and an upper limit of integration of positive square root 7. But working with the square roots can be a little messy. So if we go back and take a look at the graph for a moment, notice how the area is symmetrical across the y-axis, or the line x equals 0. Which means what we could do is we could let a equals 0 and b be equal to positive square root 7, and then we can just double the value of the definite integral. That way, when evaluating the antiderivative, we can use a value of x equals 0, which should simplify things. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's use a lower limit of integration of 0, upper limit of integration of square root 7, and then we'll double that value. Now let's evaluate this. Let's begin by simplifying this integrand. We'd have 2 times integral. This would be x squared minus 2x squared. That's negative x squared, so we'll have 7 minus x squared. And now we'll find the antiderivative. The antiderivative of 7 would be 7x. And then we'd have minus the antiderivative of x to the second would be x to the third divided by 3. We'll evaluate this at square root 7, and then 0, and then find the difference. So when x is square root 7, we would have 7 square root 7 minus square root 7 cubed divided by 3. And then when x is 0, we would have just 0 minus 0. So we have 2 times, this would be 7 square root 7 over 1 minus square root 7 cubed would be 7 square root 7. So we have 7 square root 7 over 3. Our common denominator here would be 3, so we'll multiply this first fraction by 3 over 3. So now we have 2 times, our common denominator is 3. The numerator is going to be 21 square root 7 minus 7 square root 7. That would be 14 square root 7. So the area would be 28 square root 7 divided by 3 square units. Or for decimal approximation, this would be approximately 24.69368. But in the homework, we should enter the exact value unless we're told around. If we go back to the graph for a moment, we just found the area of this bounded region here. It's exactly 28 square root 7 divided by 3 square units, or approximately 24.69368 square units. I hope you found this helpful.